The period, the nice sunny period in between the storm, before the storm arrives. And the thing is that you can't see them coming because they travel at the speed of light. So it's a phenomenon that's totally without warning, just like a gamma ray burst. They only know it when their detectors pick it up, and then they're able to locate where it came from.
Well, if it's coming to our solar system, wouldn't other planets be affected before we would?
Yes, it affects all planets, all stars.
So in a sense, you could see it coming if you saw the effects on other planets before it hit Earth. Is that right?
Well, the light from those effects on the other planets also travels the speed of light.
Oh.
So it actually lags behind the actual event itself. The forefront, we're talking that really people should be brought in from outside to help on this. You know, this is something we're, you know, why keep it secret? We all want to help out to prepare for the next event. From all the work I've done, I can only talk about probabilities, that we are overdue for one. So that's the best I can do. Now, I would be saying something entirely different if I had real evidence that there was one, that somebody had actually detected one. Well, Starburst Foundation, for example, would go into high gear to say, you know, we've got to start preparing. We're not prepared for something like this. Not even for a Carrington event solar flare, which could wipe out all the power systems if we had one.
So are you saying that the super wave would result in the wiping out of the power systems?
Oh, yeah.
What other effects would it have?
The thing is, the super wave on its forefront would have a very dense sort of shock front of cosmic rays. And this would have also an EMP, what we call EMP, electromagnetic pulse, associated with it, similar to what a high-altitude nuclear explosion would do in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And when this arrives, it's going to create similar phenomena, just like the starfish explosion. I believe it was near Hawaii, and when the EMP wave arrived, there were whole sections of the island who were having blackouts as a result. It also would fry electronic circuits, phones would go out. We've had even smaller events like gamma ray bursts affect the communication systems and do damage to our communication systems. So something like this would pretty much roast all the satellite equipment we've got. Cell telephones wouldn't be working, TV would be off the air that depended on satellite. Perhaps telephones would continue to work if it was fiber optic. It was insulated from this sort of thing. Your power lines would pick up the pulse, the wires would have a huge voltage surge, which would fry the transformers, the step-down transformers, to go from your million-volt voltages down to your voltages you use in your house. The cars that are all now with chips in them, in a case of a EMP from a nuclear explosion, for example, they warn that it could fry the chips in a car.
And this is something that could last 400 years, you're saying?
The forefront, we're talking about something that might just be minutes.
Okay.
And it would be probably preceded by a gravity wave, which would cause earthquakes, seismic events all over the Earth, not just in one place. So that might be the first warning, actually, things shaking. The thing is that whatever they are, we can only guess because they're so far away. Most of the gamma ray bursts that we are picking up come from other galaxies, millions of light years away.
Yes.
There's been only one case. We've observed one that came from within our galaxy. It was a place near the galactic center, but not at the core. We could see that there was this both 13,000 26,000 year period there, but I was a little off perhaps. But pretty much the whole thing travels at the speed of light towards us.
So then it could happen at any time. You know, am I right?
Yeah, we're in the danger period. We're sort of like you have to realize, which a lot of scientists don't because their theories still believe that galactic core explosions are every 100 million years, but you have to realize that we're on the fringe of a volcano, galactic volcano. And it's an active volcano, and we should be expecting the eruption really should happen. And it's interesting that the 5,300-year event, the small event of 20-year duration or so, occurred just before the beginning of the Mayan calendar cycle, the one that we're currently in. That cycle began 5,126 years before 2000, or before 2012, so around 3,100 BC. Whereas we're seeing this event was around 3,300 BC, plus or minus a few hundred years, because we don't know accurately from the dating. We're relying on ice core.
Yeah, obviously in the wrong place.
Right, and because I know one fellow who's believing that this means the super wave will arrive in 2012, and he's actually working with people to build a shelter down in Australia right now, expecting that this will hit 2012. But my reaction is, why would they put that obvious error in there? And so I looked at it and noticed in the diagram that appeared 1 week later that shows what looks like Neptune's orbit, that circle, and it's marked, which seems to represent Pluto's crossing point on Neptune's orbit. And then it's got a little elliptical diagram with little circles, as if dividing it 11 equal parts. And to me, that's an elliptical exaggeration of Pluto's orbit, so that we don't mistake it as a circle, showing 11 subdivisions of Pluto's orbit. And if you take the period of Pluto's orbit and you divide it by 11, you come to the amount that Pluto is displaced in that crop circle.
Okay, yeah.
And if you add that to 2012, you come to 2035 AD with the exact date, June 8th, when that crop circle appeared. In other words, it would have been 27 years into the future from 2008, which is interesting. So what are they saying? Does that mean that's when a super wave will arrive? Will it be the time when the current one will end, that it might arrive 2012, or what? You know, we don't know. But there is something on the pulsar diagram that even before this happened, I had written about it on my website. Somebody had discovered that, having read my book, they wrote me an email out, not very far from this 2035 date. I was coming up with something like 2037 or so, 2038. So it seems like something's going on here. It's interesting.
Right, so there's some kind of message there, but you're actually deciphering it differently than some of the 2012 enthusiasts, if you will.
Yeah, I think there's not enough information to immediately conclude that they're telling us we will be hit by superwave on 2012, although a lot of people have contacted me who said, they've been in telepathic contact with ETs who are telling them 2012 a superwave will arrive. In fact, one fellow said he had this ET contact and they were telling him about cosmic ray wave coming, and he wanted to know more information about it, so they said, well, just look up the work of Paul L. So he did a search with Google and found my work. If this is, I don't know if this is true, I mean, maybe they're aware of my website, I don't know.